Okay, today I want to dive into some more advanced audio editing and EQing. So let's dive in. Here is the original file, and where did I get this original file from? Well, the original file I grabbed again from Music Radar, and it's a loop dance urban pop sample, and it is this loop right here. So just a drum loop. It is 44.1 kilohertz at 24 bits. That's what every single one of these are. I've stretched some of them to the tempo and some I did not. So here we go. Here's the original. One thing I want to do is this. If I want to start doing things to this original, it has this um, little kind of a round circle thing here. What that means is, that's the original. It hasn't been messed with yet. If I want to make it part of my pool here, and you're probably wondering, wow, there's a lot there. Well, these are all the exact same thing. How did I do this? Well, I'm going to right click and I'm just going to go to audio and bounce selection. When I do that, it will bounce it and it will make the name of that audio event the same as the name here. And you also will see over here, there's one that says original now. So it's making a copy of it basically and renaming it. Now, all of these again are the exact same beginning sample from my files here. So just I color coded them a little bit to make it a little easier. So that's the original, not doing anything to it other than showing how it lines up with the transients. I could turn it down, turn it up, and so on. Okay, next is quantizing eighth notes. So can I quantize audio? Absolutely. Up here, I'm going to set my quantize to eighth notes. Okay, and bars. Adaptive versus bar versus quantize. I just highly recommend you leave it on adaptive and snap to grid. And so what I'm going to do is this. You can either right click and say quantize, or I just hit the letter Q. That's just what I'm used to doing. Okay. Now, if I wouldn't have bounced all of these into the new files that they are, every single one of these would have quantized to eighth notes. So that is one of the benefits of bouncing. That way you make a copy of it right away if you're using samples. The next thing would be here. If I go to the song menu and say copy external files, now it doesn't have any, but if I'm using samples from a samples folder, it's going to copy those external files into my media folder. Okay, so what did quantize just do? Well, it went through and it chopped it up and it says, look, here's eighth notes, 3 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So it's actually chopping up the music and showing how the beats and the transients are lining up with eighth notes. Okay, and that's awful loud, so I'm going to turn it down. There we go. Yeah, and it's still pretty loud. Okay, so that gives you an idea, and then there are these things down here on the bottom. Well, those have to deal with the what's called bend markers, and we're going to get into those in a little bit. But just keep an eye on that. Next is quantize to 16th notes. Now, again, what I want to do here is change my quantize to 16ths and hit Q, and when I do that, the quantization is a little different, and to really see what it can do, sometimes you have to spread it out. Now, since the music is based off of mainly eighth notes, you're not going to see a whole lot, but notice the colors are a little bit different. They're similar, but they're just a little bit different this one. And going on strip silence, why would I want to do this? Well, as we get into chopping, this makes chopping easier. And why am I going to chop? Because I have a blank track here called a composite. That's why. So I'm going to strip silence. To do that, I click on this audio file and I come up here, and there's several different little features here. There's mute, there's bend, there's a listen tool where if you click on it and you just click on a certain spot, you just want to listen to like little pieces, you can do that too. And then there's audio bend, strip silence. So this is the one I'm going to hit right now. And it gives me a whole bunch of parameters that I could do. Like, okay, what do you consider silence? So say that you have a loop, so you want to chop it up into pieces, but you don't want to have to keep zooming in like crazy. Well, I'm not going to. So I'm going to hit apply. Watch what happens. There. It got rid of silence and it shows you just where the audio is. Now, I am going to use that as my chop method on this next one. So on this next one, I'm going to make sure I'm on. I hop off of there to here. Okay, so this one, chop, I'm going to apply, and I'm not done because now I want to see what I chop. Now this is where I do zoom in, okay? Now that I've chopped it up, I can see how things are lining up, and then I can grab them and move them if I want to. So that right there, right, where's my right there, I'm getting a hi-hat and I really like it. So what I'm thinking is, since I like this hi-hat so much, I am going to take this hi-hat right here and I'm going to build a composite track here out of it. Now I do need to come back. How do I name just this little piece that I chopped off? Right click, okay, and this is my new hi-hat. All right. And so now that I've named it as a hi-hat, I'm going to put it on beat 1. If I hit D for duplicate, notice it's not quite going where I want it to. Well, I want it to be on eighth notes. So in order for that to work, I'm going to make sure, let me turn snap on, and I'm going to drag, there we go. So I'm creating some space in between on purpose. That way, if I hit D for duplicate, I end up with this. Now, as you could see, you could create a whole lot of tracks. Say, oh, I really like the hi-hat from that loop. Well, I just took the hi-hat out by stripping silence and then grabbing that piece that I liked using this listen tool. Oof. Now that snare's not bad, so maybe that's something I want, or I can play around with, or um, for example, I'm going to take this, I'm going to make a composite track, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. This time I'm going to do alternate. I'm going to hold Alt and copy. That just copies things. I'm going to rename this as snare. And I'd like you to do that too. Okay. Now with the snare, if I move forward or back, see how all the other track starts coming up? That's called non-destructive editing. All the other stuff starts coming back because it remembers the things that come before it or after it. Well, one thing you might want to do, of course, is turn it down. And, okay, I kind of like that. Yeah. Yeah, so I've got a nice sound, but to me, it's too long. So I'm going to trim it back this way a little bit, because it's just a long sound. Okay, and I'm going to turn off snap because I want to smoothly pull it back a little bit more. There we go. And I've got a fade out. I'll pull that too. Ooh, yeah, that's better. Okay, so that's the sound that I'm kind of wanting. So you can really do some uber editing there. And yeah, you can build what's called a composite track. Now, say for example, I want these snares to line up right next to each other like this, and I've got snap off. Let's see what that, okay. Now, I like it. I think it's cool. I'm going to take a hi-hat. I'm going to do something kind of neat to it as well. So this composite track, as you could see, there's all kinds of things you can do here. So with this hi-hat, whoops, I want to duplicate one more. I'm going to take this one that I just did, and I'm going to reverse the audio. So there it is, Control R. So this time, okay, that's not quite smooth going into the snare, so I'm going to select both of them, and I'm just going to hit X. What X just did, and it's hard to see, maybe you did see it, is I want to zoom way in here. It created this crossfade, which I can then go in and edit if I want to. it smooths out how they go from one to the next. And that's really great, especially if you're bumping takes next to each other or something. Now notice I like snap on when I do that. Okay, so that's just one way of creating a composite or comp track. Comp is the term used probably the most when I hear this. Okay, let's keep on trucking. Bend. So what I'm going to do with bend here, well, when it comes to this audio bend tool right here, I have to have some markers of some kind. So I'm going to analyze transients or detect transients, and you could set how sensitive you want things to be. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit that, and it did. It found all of those. Now, this one happened to be pretty close to the beat there. It wasn't like this other one. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to Control Z. I want to undo that for a second. I'm going to mess it up just a little bit. So I'm going to stretch it, kind of goof it. There we go. Now, this time, I'm going to click on it here. I'm going to come up here to analyze. Oh, I forgot to turn off. Timeout. I forgot to turn off snap. Okay, because snap made it go right to the beat there. Now it's not lined up with the grid. Okay, now I'm going to analyze the transients, which are where the attacks are, and they're not quite lining up how they should be. So if I want to go through and bend those, I can. And where's my bend at? Here. Okay, so I like to actually do this in the edit menu. It's a little easier to see, and I could really zoom in. That was probably too far. This is the audio bend, and this is the bend tool. All right, so if I want to take this and pull it, snap it right there, I've got snap on to the nearest quantization, I could do it like that. Here's one. And you see when it goes into the red, it's saying, well, you're kind of getting out of hand here, you know. And know that things will pull. Now this time I'm going to turn that off. And you see how if I turn off audio bend, it doesn't affect what's going on over here. And so there's bend marker, there's stretching and so on, strength, quantize, etc. So you could really go through and edit and make changes to exactly where beats are happening. And you can also chop them up with a knife too if you want to. You know, say, okay, I don't want that part to be bent or anything like that. All right, so that's just a little bit of that. And I could do some up here because this one actually, when I quantized it, created some bend markers for me saying, hey, you know, these aren't landing on quite exact where you want them to be. So in that case, I could go to my audio bend markers. There's the icon there, and pull it to where, see how it turns colors to where I think it might need to go. Now I should turn quantize snap on. There we go. And that'll help pull it a little bit too. Now sometimes you don't want that on to get a smoother move. There we go. To it. So if you want something to be a little late or a little early or just a slight shift to there. Okay. All right. So that was that. That was chop. That was composite, bend, cross fade. I actually did that up here already, but let's do it again. So say I have a couple files that I want to put right up next to each other, and they could be completely different ones. So I'm just going to go grab a couple here. And this time I'm going to take this one, I'm going to duplicate it. But what I'm going to do is reverse this one, okay? But I'm going to kind of put them on top of each other a little bit. So let me zoom in. And what I'm going to do is this. So this one's, I'm kind of putting them on top. Now I'm going to select both of them. You can do it this way. I like to click on them and hold shift. There we go. Now I'm going to do crossfade, which is X. It's a much bigger crossfade this time, as you could see. So, ooh, that's kind of neat. Yeah, and it's a little loud too, but kind of gives you an idea there. We've crossfaded those two samples into each other. You could literally crossfade two pieces of a word together if you really wanted to. Okay, let's get into some EQing now. So pretty simple and easy: high pass, low pass, sweep, and boost. So these are the 4 tracks that I want to do some EQ on. Why am I grabbing them all? Well, here's why. Let me back just a little bit. I'm going to go to my mix window. If these are the 4 tracks, I've got them all highlighted. I'm going to go to insert, and I'm going to throw on there a channel strip. Okay, so literally it just put a channel strip on all of them. Now I just want to go to the first one here, and what it's telling me to do, and you could do it here. You could use the the inspector mode, come over here and look at it. So I'm on the high pass. Let the highs pass. So that doesn't mean boost anything. That means put in a low cut. Literally a high pass and a low cut are the same thing. Okay, there we go. And you get to set what frequency. Around 100 isn't a bad idea, but it's a higher instrument, of course. And then you should listen to it and, what does it sound like with and without? Well, let's show you how to do that. Okay, so there it is with. Now there's a bypass button to hear what it sounds like without. Here it is without. Now, this time I'm going to really sweep it up. There we go. And I'm going to turn it back on. Huge difference. I just cut out some of the instruments that were in there, the lower ones. So you have what's called a low cut. All right. And then low pass. That means literally let the lows pass, or go ahead and cut the highs. So we could take these high frequencies here, okay, that would be right here, and turn them down. Now we could do what's called adaptive or non-adaptive, okay, and we could sweep it back here a little bit. Let me play what that sounds like. Here it is without. Actually, huge difference. So I turned it on as it played, and you have to play around with where exactly you want those. So adaptive Q versus non-adaptive, you have more Q features, which is bandwidth, how thick or thin it is, when you use Pro EQ or more robust EQ. Now, that is low pass. What is sweep to attenuate? Okay, so this time I'm going to draw up here at the top. There we go. Okay, here's my loop. Turn it on. Okay, so here I am. Whew, I'm going to solo this. It's a loud one. So what is sweep to attenuate? I'm going to grab one of these frequency bands and just let it play. And here we go. Ooh. So I'm finding a lot of yuck right in there. Okay, so I'm going to do some nasty little cut in there. Can you have a couple cuts? Sure. And notice 6 decibels is what I'm turning up. It doesn't look like I'm moving a lot, but it is. 12, 18. Be really careful when you sweep. You may have to turn your speakers down. So I don't want to turn down any of the good stuff. I want to cut out the bad junk. Yeah, there was this nasty stuff right in there. Okay, so, and I might want to pair that with a low cut as well. Yeah, a nice sound there. Okay. Now that was sweeping to attenuate, which means to turn down. Then I want to boost using a high-end shelf. So how do I boost and use a high-end shelf? Well, here, let me just bring this one over here. I'll turn it on. Okay. So here I am. It's always good to cut first and say I'm really wanting to focus on the high end here. So here is the high end right here. And if I want to turn it up a bit, okay, to more of make a shelf, because that's kind of a steep one, I'm going to go back just a bit. Now I'm going to bring it down. And about 3 decibels at a time is a good way to start. So see how that is a higher shelf. It's a high shelf. Doesn't look very high, but it is. That's really high. Okay. 6 dB is quite a bit. Adaptive is just going to change the slope, okay? And then taking adaptive off, that has to do with how narrow the bandwidth of the Q is, or Q means slope, okay? All right, so there it is. And when you're finished, you will definitely need to double check again to copy any external files if you've made any, and then make sure you save and zip the entire project and put your name in it. All right, so there is some advanced audio editing and some very important ways to use EQ, and I just used a channel strip.